Saturday night at the Sandy Bar is just the place to be. There's smokers and drinkers and jokers and thinkers all out for a bit at the speed. You find it you're weary of life, your trouble and strife, the kids have gone too far. Well, I'll come right on Saturday night at the old Sandy Bar. Dr. Smith speaking. You say your daughter is still biting her nails? Well, I'm going to suggest that book. It's called Condensed History of Fingernail Biting. It's got Venus de Milo's picture on the cover. I mean, you don't know who Venus de Milo. You don't know who Venus de Milo is? She's the one that said, "I'm sorry, I never give autographs." Well, Saturday night at the Sandy Bar is just the place to be. Stand up, everybody, it's our theme song. There's smokers and drinkers and jokers and thinkers all out for a bit at the street. You find that you're weary of life, your trouble and strife, the kids have gone too far. Even Friday night is Saturday night at the old Sandy Bar. Friday night at the old Sandy Bar, TGIF. I guess you know what that stands for. It's on Polish shoes. It means toes go in first. Polish World War II veteran. They asked him, "Tell us about your World War II experiences." There's a motor going on somewhere out here. Asked this Polish World War II veteran, "Tell us about your World War II experiences." He said, "Well, I saw this Nazi soldier and I put the bayonet on my rifle and I ran him through with the bayonet." He said, "Why didn't you just shoot him?" He said, "He was already shot. Somebody already done that." I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me her room, isn't it good, Norwegian wood. She asked me to stay and she told me to sit anywhere. So I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. I sat on a rug, biding my time, drinking her wine. We talked until 2 and then she said, "It's time for bed." She told me she worked in the morning and started to laugh. I told her I didn't and crawled off to sleep in the bath. And when I awoke, I was alone. This bird had flown. So I lit a fire. Isn't it good, Norwegian wood? Kooky, isn't it? That's what I like, the kooky kind of things. The gal told me a story the other night. She said, this guy, little scrawny guy, applied for a job as a lumberjack. They said, "Listen, you can't have this job. These are strong guys. These are tough guys who work on this crew." He said, "I'm a tough guy." He said, I cut, he said, about a month or 2 ago, I cut off my hand with a chainsaw. And I grabbed the hand and I sewed it back on. So I said, "Boy, that's tough, all right. All right, we'll give you a try. We think you can do it." The guy said, "Beautiful." kid next door wanted to cut his leg off, and so he could look like a pirate. And I talked him out of it. I think he'll thank me for that one of these days.
I'll be back.
About the turn of the last century, the Russians decided that they would chart the North Pole. So they sent out their two best explorers. One was a Czechoslovakian named Janos Bratoslavos, and the other was a Polish gentleman named Stanislas Gdański. It's not going to be on the test, but and they were gone about 3 months and nothing was heard from them, so the Russians feared that ill had befallen them. So they sent out two backup explorers. How far along are you over there on the bar? Tasting 1, 2, is that better? All right. Swallowing 3, 4. Barfing 5, 6. So the Russians sent two backup explorers to find the Czechoslovakian and the Pole. And they came and got into the Arctic Circle, and they came across two polar bears, mated pair. And on closer examination, they noticed that the female polar bear was just finishing a meal. And it turned out the meal was Stanislas Gdański. And Romanov said to Ivanov's comrade, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "No, comrade. The Polish gentleman has been consumed by the female bear." Duh. Then the male bear stood up, and they noticed for the first time his distended stomach. And Ivanov said to Romanov, "Comrade, are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "Yeah, comrade, I'm thinking what you're thinking." I was driving along the highway, and his cell phone rang. It was his wife.
Henry, I just heard on the news, watch out. I just heard on the news that that somebody's going the wrong way on the interstate. So watch out what you're doing, watch out.
He looked up and he said, "For God's sake, there are a whole bunch of people going the wrong way." This guy been out of college for about 15 years, and he called up one of his classmates who was Jewish. He said, "Bernie, I was thinking of getting circumcised for health reasons, but if it's painful, I don't want to do it. Could you tell me about it?" His classmate said, "Well, I was circumcised when I was 8 days old. It was an expectation of my religion, so I really don't remember whether it was painful or not. But I do know that I couldn't walk for a year." I go for these kooky things. Guy was coming home from the bar where he had too much to drink. "You're late." "Bring a note?" I was coming home from a bar where he had too much to drink. He took a shortcut through a cemetery and fell into a freshly dug grave. prepared for burial the next day, and he's thrashing around this hole, this freshly dug grave, and a guy who's been smoking a little grass comes over the same path. Merrily we roll along. That's what they sing, you know. And he hears this drunk down in this hole, freshly dug grave, and he leans over and says, like, what's the matter, man? The drunk said, listen, it's cold down here. I said, like, no wonder, man, you kicked off all your dirt. Cookie man. My mama done told me when I was in knee pants. My mama done told me, son, oh, sweet talk, keep his quiet eye. But when that sweet talk is done, a woman's a two-faced, that thing who leave you to sing the blues tonight. But here is one thing I know. The woman's a two-faced, a worse thing who'll leave you to sing with speaking. Hi, Doc. This is Rock King. Now, I know Jesus is from Pennsylvania, but was he born in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia? Rock, it was Bethlehem.
That's amazing. There is one in Pennsylvania. Sure there
We rode through it.
Polish scene that you didn't see in the Passion of the Christ. A couple of Polish guys went to Christ on the cross and said, "Master, we're going back to Poland. Do you want to tell us any message to bring back to the Polish people?" He said, "Yes. Play it dumb till I return." Well, I could tell you more, I suppose. Oh, and according to the Consumer Reports, 50% of the dishwashers today are defective. Pat Buchanan said that's a reflection on our immigration system. I like to stand up between numbers, don't you? Cat in Miami chased a mouse into the hole, and the mouse waited and the cat waited, and they waited and waited and waited at each other. And 24 hours later, the cat goes, "Ruff." And the mouse says, "Aha, there's a dog out there. If there's a dog out there, he's chased away the cat, and dogs don't chase mice, I can go out." Mouse went out, and the cat caught him and ate him. Moral of the story is, if you want to eat in Miami, you got to know more than one language. Two ladies were sitting on a curbside bench, and one of them said, "Have you been through the menopause?" I said, "Are you kidding? I haven't even seen the fountain blue."
Did you? Yeah.
Guy was new in the condominium. They had a big condominium party for the newcomers. And this lady asked him, "You're new here?" "Yes, I am." Where'd you come from? Where have you been?" He says, "I just got out of prison. I was in prison for 29 years, sawing up my wife with a hacksaw." She says, "Oh, you're single." My wife, Cobra. My wife, Cobra, said that we were invited to a party. She said, "I have nothing to wear." I said, "Wear the white dress. You know, it always does it well by you. You can wear the white. Why not wear the white dress?" She said, the tear has gotten too big. The tear in the veil." Way down on the levee, people want that there's Patsy and Mandy, there's Ethan and Sandy on a moonlight night. You will find them all while they are waiting. The bands are certificate. What's that they're saying? What's that they're saying? While they're swaying, they're humming and playing. It's the good ship. Robert E. Lee has come to carry the cotton away. Watch them shuffling along. See them shuffling along. Go get your best cafe. Pal, go down to the levee. I said to the levee, enjoy that shuffling throng. Hear that music and song. It's simply are blowing, the smokestacks are showing, the ropes they are throwing. Excuse me, I'm going to the place where all is harmonious. Even the preacher, they say, is the dancing teacher. Have you been down there? Say, were you around there? If you ever go there, you'll always be found there. Well, not gone. Here comes my baby on the good ship, Robert E. Lee. Watch them shuffling along. See them shuffling along. Look at your best gal, me, down the levee. I said to the levee and we'll join that shuffling throng. Hear that music and song. This is the great mate, waiting on the levee, waiting for the Robert E. Lee. On this date, a little bit of history. On this date in 1491, mark that date. On this date in 1491, the Spanish Society of Poets persuaded Columbus to wait one more year before he sailed the ocean blue. A little background music while you discuss that one. This Italian senior citizen went to his parish priest. He said, "Father, as you know, I have not been attending church for a long time." He said, "Yes, my son, we're very aware of that, and we've missed you." He said, "Well, Father, I've become more and more uncomfortable about not being in a state of grace. So I finally couldn't stand it any longer. I decided to come and talk to you." "That's wonderful, my son. What would you like to say?" "Well, Father, in World War II, I met this beautiful, beautiful Jewish girl who had lost much of her family to the Nazis, and she herself was in mortal peril. So I hid her in my attic." And the priest said, "My son, that was a brave and dangerous thing to do." "Yes, Father." Well, as time went by, I found myself suggesting that she grant me sexual favors, which she consented to do. "My son, that's a sin." "Yes, Father, I've sinned." The priest closed his eyes and was silent for a long time. Finally he said, "My son, I have related your story to our Heavenly Father, and he's concluded that this is a matter of good versus evil. And he said the evil, of course, is your carnal knowledge of this young woman. But the good outweighs the evil in that you put yourself in harm's way to save her life. So our Heavenly Father has determined the good outweighs the evil, and you are forgiven, and you are again in a state of grace." "Thank you, Father, thank you. It is God's word, my son. Are there any other questions?" "Maybe one, Father. Should I tell her the war is over?" An Italian girl saved my life in World War II. An Italian girl saved my life. She hid me in the cellar. It was in Cleveland. This Italian called up the Alitalia airline. "Excuse me, I want to find out how much time it takes to fly from JFK Airport in New York City to Leonardo da Vinci Airport in Rome." The airline representative said, "Just a minute." "Thank you." based in Genoa, Italy. And that is their main base, and they fly from Genoa, Italy, out to many of the other Italian cities. And the name of the airline is called Genitalia. I don't have any plans to travel, but I sent for their brochure because I wanted to see the logo. came up to me 2 years ago and says, why does it take 5 women with PMS to change a light bulb? I said, I don't know. Why does it take 5 women with PMS to change a light bulb? She said, because it just does. How many football players does it take to change a light bulb? The whole team, and they get a semester's credit for it. How many family counselors does it take to change a light bulb? None. Just leave it alone, it'll change by itself eventually. How many gay rights activists does it take to change a light bulb? None. Shouldn't have to change to be accepted. How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb?
300.
How many can you afford? How many WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, would take to change a light bulb? 2. 1 to mix the martinis and the other to phone for the electrician. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? 1, but it takes a long time and it has to want to change. How many Jewish mothers does it take to change a light bulb? None. Don't worry about me, I'll just sit here in the dark. This lady went into a travel agency in Manhattan. Manager looked up and said, aha, Mrs. Moskowitz, are you ready for your Miami Beach trip? She says, Miami, I ain't going to no Miami, I'm going to Nepal. Nepal? We don't send anybody to Nepal. She said, get me to Nepal, I don't care what it costs. He said, I'll have to co-book with another agency. She says, co-book, schmo-book, get me to Nepal. A month later, she gets her to Nepal. She goes to the Kathmandu travel agency. She says, I want to go up that mountain. He says, strong men train for months to climb that mountain. It's very risky. She says, I don't care what it costs. I don't go all the way, just to the last village. Just to the last village. Major under, she says, I don't care what it costs, get me up there. So they get the Sherpa guides and the elephants and the beasts of burden, and they trudge up through the mountains to the last village. She goes to the chief civil officer of the village. She says, I want to talk to the guru. He said, I'm sorry, the guru, he's in seclusion. He doesn't talk to anybody but his prime minister. She says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pay the taxes for everybody in this town for the whole year. Well, that would surely touch the guru's heart and change his mind. So she gets an audience with the guru, and they put her on an elephant, howdah, go up to this palace. She dismounts, is met by the prime minister, escorted down gem-encrusted corridors, till they confront these 2 golden doors, and she says, she promises, she says, just 3 words. That's all, I'm not going to bother anybody, just 3 words. 3 words. All right. So he has her wait by the door. He goes in, comes back, he says, all right, you can see the guru. Remember 3 words, just 3 words. So the doors open, there's a great big room, not as big as this, and in the middle is a dais. And the guru is sitting on the dais with his arms folded, looking at the ceiling, contemplating the ceiling in deep in thought. She walks across the floor, goes up to the dais and looks at him for a while. Finally she says, Sheldon, come home. Wonderful story, wonderful. house with rooms by the dozen right in the middle of the town. Fine tin roof with real wooden floors below. There could be one long staircase just going up, one even longer coming down, and one more leading nowhere just for show. I'd fill my yard with chicks and turkeys and geese and ducks for the town to see and hear, squawking just as noisily as they can, and each loud would land like a trumpet on the ear, as if to say, here lives a wealthy man. I hear the rich man. All day long like really boom. If I were a wealthy man, wouldn't have to work hard. If I were a really rich, titled man, I see my wife, my Goldie, looking like a rich man's wife with a proper double chin, supervising meals to her heart's delight. I see her putting on airs and strutting like a peacock, boy, what a happy mood she's in, screaming at the servants day and night. The most important men in town will come to fawn on me. They will ask me to advise them, like Solomon the Wise. If you please, Your Honor, pardon me, Your Honor, posing problems that would cross a rabbi's eyes. And it won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. When you're rich, they think you really know. If I were rich, I'd have the time that I lack to sit in the synagogue and pray. Maybe have a seat by the eastern wall. And I'd discuss the holy books with the learned men 7 hours every day. This would be the sweetest thing of all. If I were a rich man, all day long I'd pretty boom. If I were a wealthy man, wouldn't have to work hard. Lord, who made the lion and the lamb, you decreed I should be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan if I were a wealthy man? A little rusty on that, but it was fun. Nifty song. Sheldon, come home. I was lying across about 5 seats in the theater, and an usher came down, so sir, could you please sit up? We need all these seats. The guy goes, I'm going to call the manager. The manager comes down, sir, the theater's filling up. We need all these seats. Please sit up and just take one seat. The guy goes, I'm going to call the police. The policeman comes down. Look, fella, I can run you in for resisting arrest, disturbing the peace, or vagrancy. Where'd you come from? The guy goes, the balcony. Now a king special, please. This couple had a very upscale dinner party, and they got their wedding flat silver out and the sterling silver serving pieces and their heirloom linens, the wedding china, and they put the vintage wine on ice, and all of a sudden she says, Charles, guess what? I forgot the snails. But the cook says if you can pick up some snails from the beach, she can cook them up and they will do. So he got a pail and went down to the beach and started picking up snails. And this cutie in a bikini came along and said, "May I help you?" He said, "Well, thank you very much." So she helped him and they filled up the pail right away. She said, "Would you like to come over to my place over here for a drink?" He said, "Well, maybe one." So we went over to her place and they had a drink. And he had another one and he became bedazzled. Didn't come to his senses until it was almost 11 o'clock. He put on his clothes and grabbed the pail, stumbled home, spilled the pail of snails on the steps, on his front steps. His wife came out, "Charles, where in the heck have you been? There was a cloud over the whole party because you weren't there. I was about to call the police. Where have you been?" He looked down and he said, "Come on, guys, we're almost there." Wonderful story. Here comes my drink. Coke on the rocks here. That's your hostess, Mary Mackey. She's in her 5th month here and really doing a good job. Explain it to the others, Winnie. This couple was wakened up about 2:30 in the morning with pounding on the front door and bell ringing. And he said, "I can't believe this. What the hell is this all about?" Pulled himself out of bed, stumbled down the stairs, opened the door to the full extent of the retaining chain. And this guy said, hey, old buddy, I need a push. I wonder if you can give me a push." He said, "No, I can't move. Never mind. I could hardly make it down the stairs. I wouldn't have been here if it weren't for gravity helping me down the stairs. I can't help you. I'll help you in the morning." "Shh! Don't try to drown me out." So he went back upstairs and his wife said, "Who was that?" He said, "Oh, some joker wanted to push. I can't get in." She says, "Charles, remember in Kansas City last year when we had car trouble and the neighbor came out and got the car started and helped us. It was late at night. That was a neighborly thing to do." "Yeah, you're right. Okay." So he went down, opened the door, and he said, Fella, I'll give you a push. I'll give you a push, fella. Where are you?" He said, "Oh, over here in the swing." You're welcome to join in, and anybody, now is the people at the bar, this is your perfect time to catch up on all the news. Everybody sing, you ready? Here we go. Guardia mare come bello, spiritato sentimento. To the tables down in glory, to the place where Louis dwells, to the dear old temple bar we love so well. See the whiffing groups assembled, with their glasses raised on high, and the magic of their singing casts a spell. Yes, the magic of their singing, the songs we love so well, shall lie wasting in the morning and the rest. We will serenade our Louis while life and voice shall last, and will pass and be forgotten with the rest. Dear poor little lambs who have lost our way, dear little black sheep who have gone astray, Boola boola. You know, if you display your Yale diploma in your windshield, you can park in the handicap spaces.
You know the difference between Yale and the Princeton man?
No, what's the difference between Yale and a Princeton?
Princeton man washes his hands before he goes to the bathroom.
Gee, I ought to put that in the act.
Sorry.
Definition of an Ivy Leaguer, that's a guy who steps out of the shower to tinkle. Where was I? Oh yes, in the news today, police report 2 pedestrian fatalities in the same spot within hours of each other. One fatality was a dog, the other was a lawyer. The accidents were alike in every respect except one, there were skid marks in front of the dog. You didn't get it?
No, I knew it.
Oh.
Married to a lawyer.
I knew every lawyer.
Up in Burlington, Vermont, they're burying lawyers 200 feet deep because they say down deep they're not all that bad. This guy was named Richard Strange, and he was a lawyer, and he had a tombstone made for himself that said, "Here lies a lawyer and an honest man." And people say, "Well, your name's not on there." And they'll say, no, it's me. They'll come by and they'll read, "Here lies a lawyer and an honest man," and they'll say, "That's strange." You know what I'm talking about? They're starting for laboratory experiments, they're starting to use lawyers instead of mice. Instead of white mice, for 2 reasons. There are more lawyers than white mice. The other reason is, there's not as much chance of getting emotionally involved. I have a friend, one of my best friends on the Cape is a lawyer, and I rode to work with him one morning, and he knows everybody on the Cape. He waves to them all, and he uses just one finger. Welcome to part 2, good evening at the sandbar with old, what's his name? Dr. Smith speaking. Doc, I'm sorry, I guess did I miss a good party, the party that you were talking about? Yeah, it was a honey rock. They played that game, everybody took off his clothes, they turned off the lights. They played that game where you had to guess who the other person was by feeling them by braille. Boy, I wish I'd been there, Doc, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, maybe it should have been because your name came up about 3 times. Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. Oh, wait a minute, tomorrow is the 4th of July. I thought it was St. Patrick's Day. The summer's on and all the leaves are dying. It's you must go and I must buy. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, for when the valley's hushed and bright with snow, 'tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Danny boy, oh Danny boy, I love you so. I don't know whether you know it or not, but that, thank you. That song was sung by a father to his son. The son is a plumber, and the father sings, "Danny boy, The pipes are calling.
I don't think so.
The whole town's in a hell of a mess. Ass back here and fix these pipes. But that's not the end of the story, because Danny Boy is nowhere to be found. He's gone hunting. That's what he told his wife. Well, she goes to bed that night. She goes in her closet and she finds Danny Boy's hunting gear. She gets suspicious and she calls the other wives up. They find their husband's hunting gear. So the women get in the car and they go up to the hunting lodge. They get there about 3:30 in the morning, knock on the door, and the owner comes out. And they ask for Danny Boy. He says, "You broads get out of here. They brought their wives this weekend." It might give you kind of a warm feeling to know the story behind those old traditional songs. It was handed down to me by my Irish uncle, who's psychic. He knows the day he's going to die. I think the warden told him. He thumbed his nose at the traditional 9 to 5 life. Now he's doing 6 to 10. Stuck a gun in the bank teller. He says, "Get out all your cash, put it in my checking account." Sure, a man named Dan McCarthy owned the brickyard, so they say, and a Jewish boy named Cohen kept a shack across the way. And that Jewish boy kept calling Dan all kinds of Irish nicks, till Dan got sore and started into throwing at Cohen his bricks. Sure, he threw away his brickyard just to kill poor Izzy Cohen. And then Foxy Jew kept gathering up the bricks that he was throwing. And when he had them gathered, he built his hotel grand. And when he had it finished, sure he called it Ireland. This is Jewish neighborhood in Chicago, and the Jews were moving out and the Irish were moving in. And there was this one Jewish couple, they were a little older, and they didn't want to leave their neighborhood where they lived so long. So they decided what they might do is integrate into their new neighborhood and among their new neighbors. And so they went to the Catholic Church and and indicated that they were interested in joining the Catholic Church to the priest, and he suggested that before they make up their minds that they come to Mass and experience Mass. So they went to Mass, and the service started, and they passed the plate, and the Jewish gentleman wanting to be a good neighbor put in a 5, and his wife put in 2, and then the service continued, and pretty soon they passed the plate again. It's time to send the young man from the parish to Notre Dame. He put in 2 and she put in 1. The service continued. Pretty soon they passed the plate again, this time for a Catholic orphanage in the diocese. He put in 1, she didn't have any more. And the little Irish lady on the other side of him said, "Next time they're going to search us." The service was over and everybody left the church. And on the way out, the priest bade them good day, and he asked them what they thought. The Jewish gentleman said, "Tell me, Father, wasn't Jesus Christ a Jew?" He said, "Indeed he was." He said, "Tell me, the 12 apostles, weren't they Jews?" "Indeed they were." "Boy, what I can't understand is how 13 Jews with a business like this get away from it." But if you fall as all the leaves are dying, and you are dead as dead you will be, I'll go and find the place where you are lying, and kneel and say it, I'll be there for thee. And I will hear those soft you tread above me, and all my grave will sweeter, warmer be, for you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I will sleep in peace until you come to me. Thank you. Sometimes I stand up when I sing because you can sing better standing up. That time I stood up to rearrange my shorts. Jockey shorts, I think the jockey's still in them. Dr. Smith speaking. Hey Doc, this is Rock King. I got some interesting news. I've had an offer to join the circus, be shot out of a cannon. I think that sounds, it's really appealing to me. You know, I like to travel. And I particularly like the idea, well, I like the idea of getting loaded twice a day. They told me they thought they could use a man of my caliber. Are you still there? I don't blame you. I got a job as a diesel fitter at Macy's. Lady would come in with some handies that are too small, and I'd come out of the stock room and I'd say, diesel fitter. Empty the ice trays. Ice. So we're having a party, and the people are nice. They're on the table. Orders of chow. We're having a party right now. That's a pretty dress you're wearing, Mrs. B. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, dear. Where is your husband, Mr. B? He's working at the office, I fear, and he better be. Tell me, how's your brother Ben? Brother Ben has a traveling yen. He wants to leave the milling throng and throng around the mill. He's threatening to leave us, and he will. It seems that 7 million people are too many for Benny. Benny must be nuts. Now listen, all you New Yorkers, there's a rumor going around that some of you good people want to leave this town, but you better consult with me before you go, because I've been to all those people, places, and I know. Chicago? Well, Chicago's all right. It's got Soldiers Field and Marshall's Field, and it's on a nice lake. But it hasn't got the skyline after dark. It hasn't got the handsome Ziegler Park. That's why New York's my home. It's my favorite city. New York's my home, sweet home. San Francisco. A lot of people like San Francisco. It's got a lot of hills, a lot of chills, a lot of thrills, and some ocean of some size. But it hasn't got the Bowery or the Bronx. It hasn't got the Harlem honky tonks. That's why New York's my home. Not a place to visit. New York's my home, sweet home. St. Louis. A lot of people like St. Louis. And a lot of booze, a lot of shoes, the St. Louis blues. One of our larger rivers runs by. But it hasn't got the opera in the net. It hasn't got a famous string quartet. That's why New York's my home. Place to visit. New York's my home, sweet home. Hollywood. Well, Hollywood's got a lot of movie stars and movie stars and shiny cars and cocktail bars and a wonderful climate, they say. But it hasn't got the handy subway trains. You seldom find a taxi when it rains. That's why New York's my home. Take your California, New York's my home, sweet home. So save your time and trouble. Save your railroad fare. Save your time and trouble. Save your railroad fare. Because when you leave New York, you don't go nowhere. So brother Ben, you better stay right there. Empty the ashtrays, get out some ice. So we're having a party, and the people are nice. And the people are nice. this I hear about you and statutory rape? Well, Doc, you know, I drink a little. Guess I didn't realize it was a statue. Well, doctors have the unpleasant task of having to tell good boozers that they've got to stop drinking. I was told I ought to quit drinking by my accountant. I can't reconcile my net income with my gross habits. Internal Revenue Service sent me a letter, said be in our office on February 23rd. Bring all your records. Actually, we had a good time. They like the old Glen New Orleans. They were concerned about the $10,000 I deducted for religious contributions, specifically Christian brothers. Woke up the other morning. I like to stand up between numbers, don't you? I woke up the other morning and and the clock said 165. Took me about 10 minutes to get oriented, but I finally realized I had passed out on the scale. I'm discontented with homes that are risen, so I haven't been to Philo. Darling, this place is a lover's oasis where life's busy pace is unknown. Far from the cry of the city, where flowers pretty for restless dreams. Cozy to hide in, to live side by side in, don't let it abide in my dreams. You know what this is? Picture you upon my knees, two for me, me for you, and you for me alone. There be no vacation. We won't have it no dear. Day will break, and you will make scar to bake and sugar cake for me to take, for all the boys to see. You raise a family, a boy for you, a girl for me. Can't you see how happy we could be? Oh, you beautiful doll, you great big beautiful doll. Let me put my arms around you. Remember everything after you beautiful doll, you great big beautiful doll. If you ever leave me, how my heart would ache. I just squeeze you about a drink to drink. Oh, 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 you beautiful doll. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light burning in your eyes so blue. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Let's do that again. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light burning in your eyes so blue. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you. Put your arms around me, honey, hold me tight. Love and love with all your might. Oh, baby, when you roll those eyes, I On this day in history, Francis Scott Key wrote his only hit song. This gal was lying on the bed naked, singing the Star Spangled Banner. Ever heard this one before? Well, you should have. It's your national anthem. Remember Mrs. Immortal words of Mrs. Francis Scott Key, who once said, "Frank, can't you write a song we can sing sitting down?" And then there was the immortal words of Mrs. Johannes Brahms, who once said, "Johnny, if you keep falling asleep, you'll never finish that song." Answer that, it might be a phone. The Old Man River, came from the showboat, and the showboat was an enormous success, and they had a big cocktail party after the opening, and all the principals in the cast and the important people in the production were there, and Jerome Kern, of course, wrote the music, and Oscar Hammerstein wrote the words. Oscar Hammerstein II, and Mrs. Kern and Mrs. Hammerstein were talking, and some lady came up and said to Mrs. Kern, "That's the most beautiful song, that Old Man River, that beautiful song your husband wrote is just wonderful." Mrs. Hammerstein said, "Wait a minute, my husband wrote Old Man River. Her husband just wrote da 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 da." You know what I'm talking about?
That one went over mine.
I'll see if I can explain it.
Don't bother.
See, one guy wrote the words and one guy wrote the music. Pick out the ones you like. This guy was, speaking of musicians and so forth, this guy was, he lived in a small Midwestern town, and he was a very talented guy. He was attractive and talented, and people said that his name was Penis Van Lesbian. And his friends all said, "Penis, you're too talented for this little town. You ought to go out to Hollywood. You can make it out there." So he went out to Hollywood and came back about 3 days. And they said, "How'd it go?" Well, he said they thought I was talented, but they wanted to change my name. And his friend said, "Yeah, well, I'm not going to change the name. Penis Van Lesbian has been in the family for generations. It's an old aristocratic name. I'm not going to change it." They said, "We've got to talk." Then they got to have some drinks, got talking. And they said, "Look, Hollywood, they have to merchandise their talent in such a way. There are a lot of people who have gone out there and changed names, become stars. John Wayne, that's not his name, and Tony Curtis, that's not his name. Cary Grant, that's not his name. Even George Burns, that's not his name. Fred Astaire, that's not his name. Judy Garland, that's not her name. Marilyn Monroe, that isn't her name. They all became stars. You got to go along with Hollywood." Well, maybe so. So he went out, came back about 3 weeks. He said, "How'd it go?" "Well, boy, they're going to put me in a movie, and they're going to put me on a Broadway show, and I've got my own television show." "No kidding, beautiful. Are they going to change your name?" Yeah. "What are they going to? What's your name going to be?" He said, "Well, they're going to change it from Penis Van Lesbian to Dick Van Dyke."
Ben, he's
name was Trumpet, and pronounce your Trumpet away. He had a boogie style, no one else could play. He was the top man in his crowd. And his number came up, and he was long for crowd. He's in the army now, blowing reveille. He's the boogie woogie, do the one somebody be. They made him go and do the forest up on sand. And they brought him down because he couldn't jam. He kept seemed to stand. So the next day the camp went out and rapped to the band. Now the company jumps, and he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie, do the one company be. Are duets. The guy named Dave Elliott from Fort Lauderdale on 2 boogie pianos. That's a lot of boogie. Some people like you can. Those of you who like music can probably attribute it to somebody in your background, somebody you were descended from in some way, related to. In my case, my grandfather was musical. He was a violinist and also a conductor, and nobody realized what a great conductor he was until the lightning hit him. A little bit of elementary physics there. Dr. Smith speaking. I guess Rock King, had you heard about Larry Johnson? He got struck by lightning. Yeah, I heard about that. I guess he survived. What's he doing now? Is he getting along okay? Well, the last time I talked to him, he was trying to quit smoking. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. I'll say. Things make me laugh that are bad. They're so awful they're funny. This, if I can remember this song. It's sung by a guy who has a rather low station of life. He's a beggar. And, but he's not resigned to this. He realizes that maybe with a little break and a little little, mostly little brains, he can make something of himself. A fool sat beneath an olive tree, and a wondrous thought had he. So he rose and he told it to the sky. And where was I? Behind that tree. I overheard his reverie. Why be content with an olive when you could have a tree? Why did be content to be nothing when there's nothing you couldn't be? Why be content with one olive tree when you could have the whole olive grove? Why be content with a grove when you could have the world? The fool stood beneath the olive tree. What a wondrous thought, said he. But alas, it is very, very deep. And then he yawned and went to sleep, because you see, he was a fool. Why be content with an olive when you could have a tree? That which has lulled you to sleep, fool, has awakened me. Why should I cry that my lot is my lot, that I can't make it anything more, when this is a lie, an excuse for a fool to snore? I walk from behind the olive tree, with a wondrous change in me, for I walked with my eye upon a star. If you have heard and do not heed, there is a word for what you are. And oh, my friend, the word is fool. That's from Kismet. Yeah. I knew you were discussing it, and I don't know whether you know it or not, but I did a show on Broadway. And I was arrested for indecent exposure. The policeman said, "What are you doing wandering around Times Square naked?" I said, well, I was at a cocktail party in Greenwich, Connecticut. And the hostess said, after the next drink, we're going to turn off the lights, take off our clothes, go to town. I must be the first one here. I had a physical examination the other morning at 7:30 in the morning, and the doctor had his clipboard out, checking off all the questions that they ask you to ascertain your condition. He said, "Do you drink?" And I said, "Well, it's a little early, but I'll have a scotch instead." Here's a story that'll make your crush sleep. What did he say? Here's a story that'll make your creche flap. Oh. Here's a story that'll give you puss gimples. This is a story for Philo and Wigger-Toople Peep. That's wee folk and bigger people too. Oh. It's a story of Cinderella, who lived in a hig-barked house with her mean old stepmother and her two sisty ugglers. They made Cinderella do all the wordy-dirk. they sat around cheating offlets. That's chalky neatlets. Oh. And magging redisines. And one day when Cinderella was in the kitchen flopping the more, the two sissy ugglers came in and said, guess what? The Prance of Hints is throwing a fancy fresh brawl. We're invited, but you can't go. So Cinderella went back into the kitchen with ears in her ties. And she was just about to chickasee a frickin'. When suddenly there was a blinding flash of flight. And who should be standing before her but a futile berry? Cinderella said, who are you and what do you want? And the futile berry said, well, I'm your merry fodguther. I've come to want you a grish. Cinderella said, well, all I want is to go to the gall. And the futile berry said, well, that's a wuff tish. But then she said, okay. So she maved her magic wand, and instantly Cinderella was transformed into a ravishing routine. She had on a long gatton sound, a necklace of rubies and whirls, and on her feet were two tiny sass glippers. And the futile berry said, now you may bow to the gall that you must be moaned by midnight. Cinderella said, okay, and she was off. And soon she cast to the camel. That's came to the castle. Oh. And the first two people she saw were the two sissy ugglers. She was so beautiful they didn't even Cinderize Rockwell. And they introduced her to the Prance of Hints. He said, may I dab this hands? He said, you're absolutely aptiful. He said, you're even lovelier than beating Slooty. And he was just about to ask for her mare in handage, when suddenly the strop clarted, the trike swell, Cinderella banned from the raw. But as she did, one of the sass clippers flipped from her soot. And the Prance and Hints picked it up and he said, if I can find the woman who soot this flipper sits, I'll know with whom I'm lolling in fun. And so the next morning he went from house to house. And you can't turn that around. And when he came to the inn where Cinderella lived, he knocked on the door. Who should answer the door but the two sissy ugglers? I'm looking for the woman who soot this flipper sits. Well, of course, their feet were too big. But then it was Cinderella's turn, and guess what? The clipper pitted surfingly, they were married, and they happed lividly ever afterwards. That's the end of the story of Cinderella. Oh, you beautiful
go, man, right back.